How do you guide callers to the next steps quickly without being rude? That's coming up in this video. Studies show that the average business call lasts a full 2 minutes longer than it needs to. When customers don't think you understand them, they are going to vent. They will over-explain. Maybe they go on tangents or talk in circles. Now, you probably get it. You hear them and you know what the next steps are. But if the customer doesn't think you get it, even if you know you have, if they don't sense that, they are going to talk more. So when it comes to controlling conversations, the first thing we must do is make sure that the caller feels heard, that they feel understood. You convey understanding with empathy. Let's start with empathy. Empathy is a powerful tool that will help you convey to your callers that you hear them, that you understand them. When a caller doesn't feel heard or understood, they're going to vent more. You're going to get a lot more pushback. But conversely, when they feel you get it, when they feel like you feel them, you get a lot less venting and you get your caller off of the phone so much faster. I want you to convey empathy to your caller with statements such as, "I realize this must be frustrating for you." Now, I really like the word frustrate in business to customer interactions. Anytime you want to convey empathy or preempt an escalation, I like the word frustrate because it doesn't assume more emotion than perhaps is there. It doesn't assume that the person is mad, yet at the same time, it doesn't minimize what the person is feeling. Frustrate is right there in the middle. This seems like quite the ordeal. I can see your point on that. You can make this statement whether you agree with your caller or not. It is a way to align yourself with the customer, give them the perception that you're on their side without necessarily agreeing or disagreeing. I see your point on that. I'd be upset too. I realize you're upset, and I want to talk about what I think has happened and then answer any questions you have. You need a strategy for call control that is polite and it moves the interaction forward. We are going to add to empathy one of my favorite call control strategies, which is ask the caller 3 closed-ended questions back to back. I first learned this technique from a consultant who worked with police officers. The consultant, Sally Cox, explained to me that when an officer pulls a person over, say for speeding, they ask 3 questions back to back. They ask the questions in a strategic way so that they could assert their authority and they can determine how they think the person might respond. What is their next move? That is, will they be violent or will they be more likely to be compliant? Now, here are the 3 questions that officers will ask. Maybe if you've been pulled over recently, you might recognize the questions. The questions are, do you know why I pulled you over? Can I see your license and registration? And can you step outside of the vehicle? Now, the 3rd question isn't always asked. The consultant shared with me that if the person, based on the way they answer questions 1 and 2, if they show any defiance, any possibility of becoming violent with the answer to the first 2 questions, then perhaps that 3rd question is, can you step outside of the vehicle? These 3 questions help officers maintain control of situations. We can adapt this technique and use it to control calls by asking only closed-ended questions. Closed-ended questions for your caller is for you to ask a question where they answer you in one word or perhaps a series of numbers. Unlike police officers, we are not trying to assert our authority and have absolute control. We are adapting the 3 questions. The way we are going to control conversations with the 3 closed-ended questions is we're focusing on the brain. If your caller is talkative, they're venting, they're storytelling, they are emotional or growing more intense, whatever that emotion is, if any of that is present, that means the person is in their emotional right brain. So we know we have 2 halves of the brain. The right side is where we feel every emotion, from grief to shock to surprise, anger, love. The left brain is where we are more rational. It's where you are when you are doing your taxes or a math story problem or any math. It's where you want a person to be if you want them to listen. It's where you want a person to be if you want them to be rational. We have to work with a call control strategy that pulls the caller out of that emotional right brain so they can calm down. It's almost like we can get them to exhale, and listen to us. That's exactly what the 3 closed-ended questions technique is going to do for you as we adapt that strategy. This is one of my favorite call control strategies. I've often referred to this in my workshops as a magic wand approach. Literally, that's what I call it. It's like waving a magic wand. You get the person out of that talkative right brain. They're more whole brain or they're leaning toward the left and they are going to listen to you. I think you're going to love this technique. Do you like pizza? Is a closed-ended question. The answer is yes or no. What do you want for dinner is an open-ended question. A person might answer this question with, I don't know. What are you thinking? You want to ask your caller closed-ended questions because closed-ended questions focus the conversation and help you move the interaction forward without venting. When I managed a call center in car rental, I had my employees ask 3 closed-ended questions back to back. Now, here are the questions my team would ask. Can you give me your rental agreement number? That was a series of numbers, but a series of numbers that is powerful as a one-word answer. The great thing about my team asking for this series of numbers, the rental agreement number, is no one had that number committed to memory. So they'd have to stop talking, look at their rental agreement, and then read that number off. That is a powerful way to focus conversation. After they got that answer, they would ask, what are the dates of your rental? And then finally, is this a corporate account? One-word answers in response to a closed-ended question will put you in control because your customer is only allowed one word or, in some cases, a series of numbers. You will be amazed at the amount of control you have when you ask your customer 3 back-to-back closed-ended questions. I want you to control your conversations with the ask 3 closed-ended questions technique. Now, the number 3 is important here. 3 questions is the sweet spot. I don't want you to think that you can ask 4, 5, or more closed-ended questions and that will help you be more effective. That's actually not true. If you ask too many questions back to back, it could sound like you're interviewing your customer, or worse, it could sound like an interrogation. And then in that case, you're going to get pushback. The call will go longer. If you ask too few questions, say 1 or even 2, that may not be enough to take the customer out of the emotional right brain. Whenever you have a person who is venting or storytelling, maybe they're repeating details, they're growing in intensity, they're more emotional, that means they're stuck in the right brain. And we need enough questions, 3, to get them out of that emotional right brain. We want them either whole brain, so they're much more rational. They're better positioned to listen to us, or we'll even settle for left brain. But the goal is whole brain. 3 closed-ended questions back to back is that sweet spot. Now, when you go forth and ask 3 closed-ended questions back to back, there are only 2 rules that you need to follow. The first rule is I want you to make sure that your questions are relevant to you resolving the issue. So we're not going to just pick questions. They have to help us support the caller. The second rule is I want you to make sure that you're only asking questions that your caller can answer in one word or in a series of numbers. Here are examples of closed-ended questions you could ask. Do you happen to have your claim number? Can I get your email address? May I have your last name? Can you verify the last 4 digits of your account number? I have never seen the 3 closed-ended questions framework not work. When I did this with my staff in our call center, we as a team came up with 3 closed-ended questions in several of our issue categories, and we role-played them in a workshop. When my staff got confident and they were able to go right into those 3 closed-ended questions, it worked like a magic wand. And I mean that quite literally. It works because what you're doing is you're getting the caller out of the emotional right brain. You know, the right brain is where we feel every emotion. That's grief, love, anger, confusion, frustration, shock, denial. All of that is in the right brain. If you have a person who is rambling, storytelling, or venting, they're in the right brain. The 3 closed-ended questions pull the people right out of that emotional right brain. And then you'll be able to talk to a person who is whole brain. That is why the technique works. You're shifting from the right brain to the more logical left brain and giving a whole brain perspective. So when you come up with these questions and they can be answered in one word or a series of numbers, numbers are even better because people don't typically have the numbers memorized. So if you ask for the credit card number or account number, people have to stop talking and look to retrieve that information for you. Even if the numbers are committed to memory, they have to go to the left brain to recall what you need, or retrieve it, I should say. And that little pause is going to give you a great sense of control. Try out the 3 closed-ended questions technique and come back here and let me know how it works for you. All right, until next time.